there. This is Pelvic Health 101 for men. This is your pelvis. On the outside, you have the pelvic bones right here. You have the inguinal ligament that comes down here on both sides. And in front of that, you have your abdominal muscles. That six-pack, rectus abdominis, right here. In front, you see you have both testicles right there, and the penis front and center. In the back, there's your hip joint socket right here. The back of the pelvis, your glutes attach right here, and back here is your sacrum and the beginning of your lumbar vertebrae or your low back. Your tailbone is right here. All this grayish blue stuff is ligaments. They attach bone to bone. Your SI joints, you may have heard of those right here. Things are pretty solid back here. There's a lot of support. Going to the side, you have your piriformis muscle right there. And then your good old sciatic muscle. You hear of sciatica? Sciatic nerve, not muscle. You hear of sciatica, that's when this nerve is irritated. Interestingly, a little part of that right here branches off the sciatic nerve and goes down to give sensation to your pelvic floor. So if you see all those yellow branchy things, those are nerves that come from the nerve root of the spinal cord. If we look inside what we call the bowl of the pelvic floor, you see this big thing here called the bladder. That is where your bladder sits. Do you see how close it is to the front of the pelvis? I'm going to take that out to kind of show you how things are arranged. There's the bladder. Behind it is your colon. Off to the side, this is a side view of the bladder. Right underneath it is the prostate. And then your urethra or your pee hole comes right here. This is where the first sphincter is for you guys for the bladder. The rectum, right there, super close to both bladder and prostate. If we take this apart further, can do all kinds of things for this. You have a cross section. And you'll see the cross section of the bladder. And right here is your urethra, which goes from the bladder, neck, through the prostate. That's why if your prostate is enlarged, the mass of the prostate is going to be squeezing into the urethra, kind of like kinking a garden hose, making it a lot more difficult to start peeing and a lot more difficult to get a good urine flow out. That is your pelvic floor right there. It goes from your sit bone in front all the way to the tailbone and back, and it goes from one sit bone to the other, side to side. This is the deeper layer of the pelvic floor. It's fairly steep because, as you notice, the angles in the male pelvis are steeper than that in the female. The hips are closer together, therefore the angle of the pelvic floor muscles is steeper than in women. If you notice, right in here, you've got a hole there. That is the hole for the rectum and the anus. You also see some of these side muscles. Those are also some of your deep hip muscles that rotate your hips to the outside. Now, I can take this guy apart. Bear with me here. Let's take a different view. Here's a side view. And remember, the yellow bits right there are nerves. So you've got a lot of nerve complexes. You've got large veins and arteries here going right into that pelvic floor and passing through that sometimes, or passing next to it. Now, a part of the pelvic floor that a lot of people don't know about is the first layer, or the external layer. We've already talked about the deep layer of the pelvic floor. Now I want to talk about layer 1, or the more superficial layer. Now, to see it, we need to get the boys out of the way. I'll go do that. Just a minute. We'll just do this. There we go. There. We got the boys out of the way so that you can see layer 1 pelvic floor. And as you see, it sits right underneath the testicles, the scrotum, the penis. There's a few very important muscles here that are often the culprit in issues such as testicular pain or post-vasectomy pain or rectal pain. Right in here, you see this one here and this one over here. Those lay term legs of the penis, also known as ischiocavernosus. They kind of hug the sides of the pelvic bones. And when they're tight and they're cranky, they can actually refer pain to the testicles and the scrotum. Right in here is a muscle that goes from one sit bone to the other. That's called transverse perineal, for those of you who want to know. Interesting that this wraps around the anus as well and goes down to the tailbone. So sometimes tailbone pain can actually be partly due to problems up here. Comes back around. I want to show you this muscle right here. Right there. That is called bulbospongiosus. And that muscle is pretty important. It's right underneath the penis. When you do a contraction like you're going to stop your flow of urine, that's the muscle that contracts. You also see, let me switch hands here. You also see these nerves here. These are nerves that go to your genital area. This is the area that you sit on when you sit on a chair. That's called your perineum. There's also a branch here that goes to the back of the pelvic floor or toward the rectum. And then there's a third branch of the nerve that goes all the way to the tip of the penis. We'll uncover Mr. Pelvic Floor here. And if you can see the yellow right there, that's a nerve, the third branch of the nerve that goes all the way to the tip of the penis. So if you may have that zinging pain that goes to the tip of the penis, or if you have pain when you sit, or that feeling like you have a golf ball up your butt, that might be due to tight muscles that are irritating the nerves here. I have Mr. Pelvic Floor in half. We're going to turn him to the side. And you may see there's the layer 1 muscles. And then here's the layer 3 muscles. Now the urethra is right in there, right here. Okay. That goes through here, through the middle of the penis, all the way down to the end. But you also see that you've got a pretty robust layer here. And it's not just all the muscles in the back toward the rectum that make a difference. The muscles in the front of the pelvic floor here are mainly responsible for opening and closing that second sphincter quickly so that you can hold in your pee or let it out when you want to. And they're also important in sexual function. Think erections, ejaculations, orgasms. Those are all thanks to partly these muscles right here. So they play a pretty important role in sexual function as well. There you have it. Male pelvic floor 101, take 1. I hope to have a more updated version soon, but I wanted to get this out here because a lot of guys are asking just for information. And when they see this and when we go through it in our clinic, so many of them say, oh my gosh, I feel so validated. This makes so much sense. Thank you. This helps me connect the dots. This makes sense now. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any comments or need to contact us, you can look at the contact information below. And if you are experiencing incontinence, pelvic pain, urinary problems, please do not hesitate to seek out the help of a pelvic floor physical therapist near you who works with men. There is a couple of directories below where you can find information on how to find a qualified pelvic health provider near you. Just remember, you don't have to just live with it.